First of all, I want to thank you all for your patience. I want you to know that the Prescott Fire Department, we're good at responding to emergencies and mitigating situations like this. We're not used to dealing with personal emergencies and the death of 19 of our firefighters. So as we try to work through this, we appreciate your patience. I'm here to bring you some information about Brendan McDonough, who was the 20th firefighter that was a part of the crew. Brendan is in his third season with the crew, and I'll just give you some facts as to what was going through, down in the situation at the moment when we lost our firefighters. Brendan is a survivor of that because he had an assignment that was away from the crew at that time. There's a couple terms that I use during the statement that I'll go ahead and describe to you first, so you're not wondering what exactly I'm talking about. He was a lookout for the crew, which is a typical assignment for the crew. There's many lookouts on the fire. He was assigned to kind of be a heads up on top of a hillside to give a situational awareness to the crew as they're working throughout the day. Also, the trigger point that we're going to talk about. The trigger point is a very difficult thing to explain to lay people. The trigger point is a moving target. It's a situational awareness thing that we use constantly. It's set up initially in the morning. That situational awareness, as that changes, those trigger points could change. So I know it's hard for you to understand exactly what it might mean to him and to the crew. But that trigger point is a decision that's typically geographical, where they make a decision that whatever we're doing right now needs to change and move to a different point. And so that's what I'm going to discuss. As Brendan was a lookout at the side of the hill, as he watched over the fire, the weather, the topography that the crew was working in, he had reached his trigger point, a point where he was predetermined to decide that he needed to move to a different location if the fire or weather had reached those circumstances. He radioed the crew that he had reached his trigger point and that he was leaving, and that he would contact them and they could contact him if they needed anything. He went down the hillside to a dozer line and started to walk out at that point, where he was contacted by a hotshot supervisor from Blue Ridge Hotshots. He was at that point turned around and realized that the fire had increased to such a point that the location that he was at his lookout had already burned over. He got in that vehicle and was taken to a safety zone. Before Brendan left his post as a lookout, he did three things. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He radioed to the supervisor of the Ground Mountain Hotshots that his trigger point had been reached and that he was going to move. He also communicated to the crew the situational awareness, which was that the weather was changing rapidly, and that was the reason that he was leaving, as well as the fire had changed directions because of the wind. He radioed to him his needs and asked them if they needed anything at that point, and to contact him on the radio if they needed anything. He left with Blue Ridge Hotshot Superintendent, and that was the last communication. I can tell you that Brendan has no desire to speak to anybody at this point. He's trying to deal with the same things that we're all trying to deal with, but you can understand how that's compounded being there on the scene. I ask you to please respect him and his privacy. He's been contacted by many of you. His name has been leaked out. We have confirmed that name several times today, only because people have wrong names. They had wrong job descriptions. They had said that he was a sole survivor. Brendan never deployed a shelter. He was not in the burnover. I want to make that clear. We had reports that he was recovering at home from injuries, that he was in the hospital in Phoenix. We've had people use, I can only say made-up names. He's used his middle name, James. It's just been horrible, not only for him, but his mother. The only way I can say it nicely, and you guys know what I mean, please leave him alone. Respect him right now, and his privacy as well as his mom.
Can you spell his last name?
I'll do it when I'm done. Again, most of you, if not all of you in this room, have done that, but please give him some time. And when I mean time, it's going to take weeks, if not longer. Brendan's last name is spelled MC, capital MC, capital D-O-N-O-O-G-H. It's pronounced McDonough. Well, not to be taking any further questions in regards to what happened at the moment. Other than that, the fire is still under investigation. So you could please respect that and all the reasons for that. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Bob Worrell. Just to avoid some confusion here, there's a Type 1 incident management team managed by Clay Templin who's going to brief you on the Yarnell Hill fire. There are also members of a second Type 1 incident management team out of the Southwest that was here working the Dosey fire that are assisting with state agencies, fire departments throughout the state, with members as far as FDNY that are coming in to help us to assist the Prescott Fire Department in the city of Prescott on what they're going through. I'm part of that organization. I had an opportunity to sit with Brandon this morning, and he asked me to read a statement from him to you. Brendan would like to express his appreciation of that and that of his fallen brothers for the outpouring of support towards his organization and the firefighter community in general. He would like everyone to know that he is physically healthy, and everyone can appreciate that he's working through the process of dealing with this loss, and that could last for some time. He does ask the public and the media to respect his privacy, just as Wade had talked about, and that of his family. He also asks the same for his fallen firefighters' families that are going through this process. So I do ask you, please honor Brandon's request for his privacy. Thank you.
We'll get information presented today, disseminated out to the media that's made those inquiries. I'll turn it over to Paul.
Good afternoon. I'm Paul Bourgeois with the Arizona Fire Chiefs Association, and I'm functioning as a member of the Public Information Office today, the incident management team involved in the recovery process. Unfortunately, over the last several days, we've identified several fraudulent websites and fundraising activities across the nation, some even in other nations. And before I delve into that, I first want to say on behalf of the Prescott firefighters, thank you for the enormous support shown to them from around the globe. The outpouring of financial support, donation of goods and services has just been amazing. And while most people are well-intentioned, there are a few among us that attempt to deceive. And we just want to make sure that everyone understands what the official websites and donation points are, who the endorsed organizations are. As we mentioned earlier, our primary website is the YarnellFallenFirefighters.com. But we also endorse 100club.org. They're from the Arizona 100 Club. Again, that's 100club.org. Also, the Wildland Firefighting Foundation at wffoundation.org. Also, anyone wishing to make a monetary donation can do so at any Chase Bank location through account number 987-218-757. Also, to enable us to communicate more effectively, more efficiently with our community members of the press, we have established a Twitter account. You can follow us on Twitter, where we will release pertinent information as it becomes available. Our Twitter address is Prescott_fire.
Ask Clay Templin to come up and provide an update on the Yarnell fire, and then we'll begin questions after.
Good afternoon. I am Clay Templin. I'm the incident commander for the Yarnell Hills Fire. I assumed command at this fire at 1800 along with my team. My comments are going to be primarily directed for those evacuees that have left the Yarnell and the Peoples Valleys area. First thing I want to say is I ask for your understanding and your patience. We fully understand with our team the impacts to you leaving your home and your community. Having said that, I think it's important to realize that all of the fuels for this fire are exceptionally dry. We've had a number of years of drought here in Arizona, and I can assure you that whether it's brown or green, everything burns right now. And before we can go ahead and even entertain the thought of returning you to your homes, I want to make exceptionally sure there is no chance that I have to re-evacuate you. There's nothing worse that I can do for you. Having said that, we've got three priorities that we're sorting through right now on the fire. The fire is presently about 8,400 acres. I'm fairly confident we will show some containment on this fire. But again, I have to make sure that that fire is not going to go ahead and cross the lines. So, as we get information, we'll do that. We're looking through right now is trying to get a damage assessment, working with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office, the Yarnell Fire Department, Peoples Valley Fire Department, the County Assessor, and trying to go ahead and do a house-by-house search and an assessment of what has occurred. I can tell you, yes, there have been some homes lost in the area. As soon as we can get that information to you, we will do so. That's my personal assurance to you. As far as the fire, we've made good progress. We have three priorities, one of which is in the Yarnell area. And I have to try to explain this in terms that you can understand. Even though this fire does not show a lot of active flame right now, it's still very hot. And with our extraordinarily dry conditions, it just takes a breath of wind for that fire to reignite. And as we've seen at the start of this fire, it can grow fairly large fairly quickly. So we're taking our time, we're ensuring all of the firefighters we have working, they're committed to getting this fire out, and we'll do that. So Yarnell area, we're working through that part of it. The same thing on the Peoples Valley side, the Buckhorn Ranch area, the Model Creek Ranch area, and the Double Bar A. Those are our priority areas right now in securing it. Along with that, we also have the eastern perimeter. We want to make sure that that fire is not going to go ahead and cross and make another threat to Peoples Valley or conceivably even moving into the Skull Valley area. I do not think that's a high probability, it's a chance. But when we've seen these thunderstorms come in, we have these severe high mile per hour winds, the potential for this fire to pick up and run again is extreme. When I get done, I have a map with me here. I'll take a few questions before I have to get back up on the incident. The team, everyone associated with this fire, expresses all of our heartfelt sorrow for our comrades from the Prescott Fire Department, and we certainly appreciate everyone's support as we deal with this fire. And one final plea that I'll make for you is, if in fact law enforcement comes to your community and asks you to evacuate, please do so. I'm a native Arizonan. I get it that people want to stay in their homes, but in these extraordinary conditions, we don't want to have another tragedy in Arizona. So thank you, and I'll take a few questions at the end of this.